Welcome back to the Zenith Publications educational series. This is video 16. Most researchers know that IMRaD stands for Introduction, Methods, Results, and Discussion. Almost none of them know what each section is actually supposed to do. And almost none of them know that writing these sections in the wrong order is the most common structural mistake in clinical manuscript writing. This video covers exactly what each IMRaD section does, the order you should actually write them in, and the specific mistakes that get manuscripts rejected at structural review, before a single reviewer even reads the science. Here is the trap. Most researchers sit down and write their manuscript in the order it will be read. Introduction first, then methods, then results, then discussion. That feels logical. It is also exactly backwards, and it is why so many first drafts fall apart. Here is the problem. If you write your introduction first, you do not yet know what your study found. So you do not know what gap in the literature actually matters, what background is relevant, or what your study objective should emphasize. You are writing blind. The correct writing order is results, then methods, then introduction, then discussion. Write what you found first. Then explain how you found it. Then explain why you looked in the first place, now that you know what you found. Then explain what it all means. The reading order and the writing order are not the same. Remembering this one distinction will change how you approach every manuscript you write from this point forward. Before you can write any section well, you need to know exactly what job it is doing. 4 sections, 4 questions. Each section answers one question, and one question only. The introduction answers, why did this research need to happen? It states the problem in the literature, identifies the specific gap your study addresses, and ends with your study objective. Nothing more. Background for its own sake does not belong here. The method section answers, how exactly was it done? Enough for someone else to replicate it. Study design, stated in the first sentence. Population, with inclusion and exclusion criteria. Primary outcome measure. Statistical approach. The results section answers, what was found, with no interpretation. Primary outcome with specific numbers. Secondary outcomes in sequence. Any adverse or unexpected findings, never omitted. And the discussion answers, what does it mean, and what should change? A plain language summary, comparison to published literature, the clinical implication, and the limitations. Here is the rule that gets broken most often. The results section contains no interpretation. The discussion section introduces no new results. When authors mix these two together, the manuscript fails structural review, at every indexed journal, every time. The methods section is the most undertaught part of clinical manuscript writing. Most authors write it too briefly, assuming the reader already shares their context. Most reviewers reject it for the opposite reason, not enough detail to replicate the study. 3 things your methods section must contain. First, study design, stated in the first sentence. Not paragraph 3, the first sentence. This was a cross-sectional study of 150 regular blood donors at NBTS ORI, grouped by donation frequency. The reviewer now knows exactly what kind of study this is before reading another word. Second, population. Who was included, who was excluded, and why, both stated explicitly. Inclusion. Regular donors with 3 or more donations. Exclusion. Known hematological disorders, iron supplementation within 3 months, acute illness at the time of donation. Third, the primary outcome measure. Not just what was measured, but exactly how. Primary outcome. Serum ferritin concentration measured by ELISA at donation. That level of specificity is what makes a study replicable. Here is the pattern worth remembering. Most authors spend the most words on methods. Most reviewers say methods is the least complete section. The reason is simple, authors assume shared context. Reviewers do not share it. The results section has one rule, and it has no exceptions. Report what you found. Do not interpret it. This is the rule most authors break, almost always in the last sentence of a paragraph. Here is an example. Iron deficiency was identified in 38.5% of regular blood donors. Female donors showed significantly lower serum ferritin levels. High-frequency donors also showed lower ferritin than low-frequency donors. suggesting that repeated donation depletes iron stores, and indicating that sex-stratified donation intervals may be warranted. Those last two clauses, suggesting that, and indicating that, are interpretation. They do not belong in results. They belong in the discussion. Remove them, and the results section becomes clean. Iron deficiency was identified in 38.5% of regular blood donors. Female donors showed significantly lower serum ferritin levels. High-frequency donors showed lower ferritin than low-frequency donors. Hemoglobin values were within normal range across all groups. Same data, no interpretation. That is what a clean results section looks like. Here is a simple check before you submit. If your results section contains the words, suggest, indicate, or demonstrate that, followed by an interpretation, move that sentence to the discussion. The discussion is the most complex section in the manuscript, and the one most authors are never taught to structure. It has 4 parts. Each part has one job. Part 1, the summary statement. One sentence stating the primary finding in plain language, not a repeat of the results, a restatement that someone outside your specialty could read and understand. Part 2, comparison to existing literature. How does this finding compare to what has already been published? Is it consistent, or is it different, and if different, why? This requires specific citations. Consistent with previous studies, with no citation attached, will not pass review at any indexed journal. Part 3, clinical or practical implications. What should practitioners, policymakers, or other researchers do differently because of this finding? This needs to be specific. Further research is needed, is not an implication, it is an admission that you have not thought about what your data actually supports. Part 4, limitations. Every study has them. State them clearly, and explain how they affect your conclusions. Omitting limitations does not make your study look stronger. It signals to every reviewer that you have not thought critically about your own work. Write the discussion last. Build part 1 from your results. Build part 2 from your literature review. And let parts 3 and 4 follow from what the data actually shows, not from what you hoped to find. Here is what this looks like in a real published paper. Article 6 in Clinical Insight Reports, Assessment of Iron Profile and Hematological Parameters Among Regular Blood Donors at NBTS, ORI. The introduction identifies the gap directly. Donor health in sub-Saharan Africa is underrepresented in the literature, and the study objective follows immediately. No unnecessary background. The methods section opens with the study design in the first sentence, a cross-sectional study of 150 regular donors, followed by clear inclusion and exclusion criteria, and a precisely defined primary outcome. The results report specific numbers throughout: iron deficiency in 38.5% of donors, ferritin levels by sex and by donation frequency, with zero interpretation. And the discussion does all 4 jobs. It compares the finding to published donor health literature, states a specific clinical implication, routine iron assessment and sex-stratified donation intervals, and acknowledges the single-center, cross-sectional design as a limitation on causality. Every section doing exactly one job. That is what a structurally sound IMRaD manuscript looks like. That is IMRaD, 4 sections, 4 questions, and a writing order that is different from the reading order. If you are working on original research right now, download the free IMRaD checklist at zenithpublications.com/resources. It walks through every element covered in this video, section by section. Health AI Frontier, Precision Oncology, Clinical Insight Reports, and Children's Health Horizons accept original research across all 4 journals. First editorial decision within 3 to 4 weeks. Waivers are available for qualifying researchers. Subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com at Zenith Publications for a new clinical research publishing guide every week. Coming next, Video 17. How to write a systematic review, with the PRISMA checklist explained.